What's up, Internet? I'm Daniel, the Pitch Professor. New week, new video, and it's about whiskey and someone seemingly getting their numbers wrong, which I think is a great combination for our pitch to dissect. I'd say without any further ado, let's dive in. Let's have a good look at the upcoming pitch.
Oh. Do you want to have a sip of water? Calm your nerves.
Next to face the dragons, another married couple, Stephen and Jacqueline Pine.
Sorry, it's not whiskey.
Ching ching.
Cheers.
Sorry, it's not whiskey. I like that. I mean, there's people that say you might want to have a sip of whatever it is before you go on stage to kind of calm the nerves. I'm not a big fan of that because I think what it does is it doesn't give you peak performance. I know it sounds a little weird, but when I go on stage, I want to know I have absolute peak performance of my body and my mind. And well, you wouldn't have a drink before you go out into the ring, right? To fight or on the track to run or whoever helps to race a Formula One car. So I wouldn't do that either. So yeah, don't do that. I mean, if you need to do it, do whatever works for you, but do it like in a good way. I know if I were to do that, I'd probably end up insulting random people and wanting to get into a fight, and that's probably not the ideal way of starting a pitch. No, just joking there. But anyway, it's interesting. But what they are doing, which is a smart move, is to hydrate before you go on stage. Always try and get that apparatus nice and moist that you can talk, and you don't have this on stage because that's kind of unpleasant. So do that. And something else I noticed, the guy totally looks like Colin McRae, doesn't he? I mean, in a way, it kind of reminded me of the late, great Colin McRae. If you don't know who he is, look for him, not now, and just look at the master of going sideways, one of the greatest, if not the greatest, rally driver in the world. Anyhow, let's jump into that pitch.
Oh, we're bringing in a unique way of buying and selling whiskey. Best of luck.
We got into it because about 5 years ago I started collecting whiskey, and I thought there's got to be a better way to do this.
Can you believe you're here? It's like a dream, isn't it? Pinch me.
To awaken their interest, Stephen and Jacqueline intend to offer the dragons some free samples.
We have brought not just one dram, they play their cards right, they could have more than one.
We might give them a double if they're really nice to us.
Crack open some of the good stuff.
So can these sellers of scotch bottle up a deal in the den?
Not unpleasant, unpopular detail. If you're sporting an accent, which probably 99.999% of us are in the world, number one, sport it with pride. By the way, if you're thinking my accent is kind of weird as well, half Irish, half German, raised in Portugal, live in Austria. Yep, I thought you figured that one out. But if you're sporting an accent, understand it might take your audience a second or two to get used to it. Quite frankly, when the two of them started speaking in their Scottish accent, and I love that accent, totally love it, but you might see in my facial reaction a bit of a, ooh, quite simply because it sounds different to what I've heard before. So give people's ears a second to adapt. What does it mean? It means if within the first few seconds you say something absolutely mission critical, the chance is quite high that it's lost while the other person's brains are still trying to understand what's going on there. So ideally, and I always say that when I train with people, is the first few seconds are usually there just for people's brains to switch on, to go from the, let's say, monkey brain, which is going, oh, whatever I had for lunch was great, yep, and people is checking out TikTok or Instagram, to the neocortex going like, okay, focus, I'm on. So you need something to get from their uninterested, really not firing brain into their interested, highly revving, highly firing neocortex. Same thing with the language. So understand what it is. It could be some form of interacting with the audience. It could be just, quite frankly, saying your name and saying hello and then jumping in. But whatever works for you, but just observe this. And observe this in yourself, how long it takes you until you actually listen. And second part of this little self-test, how often do you actually end up not listening at all? And the funny thing is, the same with YouTube videos. You usually click into a video, go like, not interesting, and off you go. Same thing. Anyhow, let's focus on the actual pitch.
Good afternoon, Dragons. My name's Jacqueline, and this is my husband, Stephen. And we are here today to ask for £65,000 for 10% of our business, Scotch Galore Whiskies. Scotch Galore was founded in 2019 to satisfy the needs of modern consumers in the selling, collecting and investing in whisky. We provide a free-to-use online platform, and with every sale, we earn a small commission.
Before Scotch Galore came along, customers would have to pay an auction to sell their whisky. And from the point of putting the whisky in to turn it into cash in their pocket, this would normally take about 6 to 8 weeks. And it was an auction, so there was no guarantee on what the customer would receive. So this is why we want to offer our customers a one-stop whisky shop.
And as Stephen says, we're not an auction. The customer will fix the sale price, and that is the sale price that the customer will receive back once their bottle sells. And the sold bottle is picked up by our courier and with the buyer within 24 hours. The seller is also paid within 24 hours as well. So we will maybe have questions. But before you do, we would like to offer you a wee dram.
On ice?
We've got ice and water in all of your boxes.
Oh, right.
First of all, that's a religious question, isn't it? Do you add water? Do you add ice? Or do you drink it neat? I prefer my whiskey neat. Again, it's a religious thing and that should not be discussed, but still I wanted to share that. But something else, I always say never pitch alone because you want to read facial expressions. What a difficult word, but as I never edit, there you go. I absolutely messed that word up. Expression. If a word doesn't work, slow down. Stephen's expression was interesting when Jacqueline highlighted how her whole process works and that they even have a courier who sends out, who delivers the whiskey. And he was impressed basically because they have an end-to-end solution. That sounds smart. It sounds thoughtful. And yeah, let's see how the testing goes. Smart one as well, getting the Dragons slightly tipsy because then probably the chances are going to be higher that they invest. What I also liked is that they said, okay, it's a platform, it's free, it's commission based, so we understand the business model, we understand that the target group. They said no auctioning, and they have careers, so kind of all in there.
I've never seen you so excited.
An online platform for buying and selling whiskey is the brainchild of Stephen and Jacqueline Pine.
So is the water supposed to go in the whiskey as well?
It's a
Surely.
personal. You can exactly, Deborah.
The couple are seeking £65,000.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Oh my God, it's a triple. oh, she's got a
It's a well-meant whiskey.
I can see where this is going.
And imagine they just take like the absolutely dirt cheapest whiskey in the world, which is like absolutely devastatingly bad. That would be hilarious. I mean, you'd expect something good there, wouldn't you? I mean, everything under... I don't even know if I can mention this on YouTube, but whatever. That's a very well-meant whiskey. Let's see if someone finishes it, actually, because that'll get you sorted.
In return for a 10% share in their business.
Cheers, everybody.
Cheers. Yeah, cheers.
Good to your health.
Slange.
Never above you, never below you, always with you.
Oh.
Until now.
They've already succeeded in raising glasses, but can Stephen and Jacqueline go on to raise investment?
Looks good.
Jacqueline, Stephen. Look, it is a marketplace. And I'm not in that world, but I'm assuming there are people around the world, serious collectors, who say, right, whenever there's a certain type of whiskey with a certain age, they buy it anyway.
Yeah, correct. Our customers are everyone, not just Scotland, the UK, worldwide.
Tuka drinks whiskey every day.
Does he?
I've never been out with Tuka and he hasn't been
Only
drinking
when I'm
whiskey.
out with Peter. I don't drink whiskey all year. Only when I'm out with Peter, he makes me drink whiskey.
Really?
He's a bad influence.
Maybe a good influence? Could be either or.
So should we, you know,
Yeah,
we're
we
just
can
having a
do.
chat now, aren't we? Having a lovely time.
Could I ask you a question?
Yeah,
If you
Tuka.
take the total value of every bottle of whiskey that you've got on your website,
About half a million.
what would it all come to in value?
About half
Sales
a
value?
million.
Think as much as
Yeah,
that,
about
yeah?
half a million.
What's your typical sort of value of the whiskies that people are listing and selling?
Here's the thing. They didn't really disclose very many commercials. And I have a strong feeling where this is going already. So it's saying, how many whiskies are on your entire platform? What's the average user's price? So what they're going for is actually ARPU, average revenue per user. So to be expected, because this thing is commission-based. What does that mean? It means that I always say this: people aren't interested in the products. I mean, they are kind of, but this is just the means to make money for an investor, and it's the means to understand the business model behind it. Now, think about it. It's commission-based. Do you remember how much commission they get? It's 10%. I always have my little note. It always starts empty, and it's kind of crammed full at the end. So it's 500,000, and they get 10%. What does that mean? It means the maximum they can make if they sell every whiskey on their platform is 50K. Boo. I'm pretty sure this is what they're going to get onto as well in just about a second. But the point being, the maximum they can make as of right now is 50,000, whatever it is, euros or pounds. I'm not quite sure. That's nothing. That's nothing. And they're looking for 65,000 for 10%. So it's a 650,000 valuation. That'll be a very hard sell. And as an investor, that's what you're looking for. You're trying to understand, how probable is it that I get a really nice return on my invested money in a relevant time frame with an acceptable risk? Now, don't get me wrong, the whiskey market is spectacular. And if you look into it, the returns are incredible. And there's especially in, certain areas, be it Japanese whiskey, Scottish whiskey, whatever it is. Like, I'm half Irish, we just like drinking our stuff and it never goes old. But like the Scottish stuff and the Japanese stuff, there's absolute premiums on there. And there's people, I'm kind of interested in that field, that just buy up entire like loads of these bottles knowing that they'll get better returns than some Fortune 500 companies if they stick with it. It's interesting. Commission-based. I don't know.
Few hundred, maybe £300-500.
Average price.
Well, the average
500.
price in the UK selling price for single,
single
malt,
malt.
is £434
Blimey.
in auctions.
But we have had customers spending over £20,000. I recently had a customer spend nearly £13,000 on a single bottle.
How do you know it's not fake?
There is a lot of whiskey fraud.
Yeah.
Unless you open the bottle and you test it, that is the only way
Yeah.
to do it. And people are not
collectors
going to
don't
do
want
that.
to do that. But also,
It's also an interesting question. I think they're kind of looking for, is there a secret sauce? Is there an IP? Or is there someone who's taking over the guarantee or the risk for the buyer and the seller, and therefore some sort of unique selling proposition, aka USP? And they're very honest to say, no, there isn't. That could mean a lot of trouble if someone buys, let's say, we just heard like a bottle for 13,000 and it ends up being filled with the cheapest Jack Daniels ever. I mean, it'll have a different color, but you know what I mean. And that could be a massive liability. Whereas if they'd have some kind of smart service and say, look, we charge on top, but therefore we guarantee that, blah, 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 insurance, blah, blah, blah. And they would end up attracting all the big whiskey collectors, investors in the world. Yeah, I think that's where Stephen was going for.
as well, we've got full traceability. So the bottle that comes in from the customer and it gets sold on, if that was to come back as a fake, that would then be a police matter, and then it would go back to the source that sent it into us.
One other thing
Facial
that I would
expressions.
like to mention is we are so confident in what we are offering here today that I actually brought along 3 bottles of my own collection that are worth £65,000-70,000, which we're happy to put up as a guarantee against any investment that you're looking to make or prepared to make.
Well, that's a first in the den.
An unusual
That's unusual, isn't it? I mean, they're saying they're asking for 65K. They're happy to put this up as a collateral, which is an interesting move. So they're basically saying, okay, we'll put this up. But they're not selling it in a good way. They could say, look, we're expecting this to go up in the next 5 years by blah, 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 but still we're putting it on the line. That would be smart. And what they haven't said yet is they haven't really said what they are specifically looking for in their investor. So with that I mean is, investors aren't just like people with a ton of money and nothing to do in their life, but rather it's about having a business proposition, saying, look, this is what we do. And for our next step, we need XYZ money and someone who knows all about blah, blah, blah. So if someone were to go to and pitch, and I'm listening as a funny example, and they're saying, and we're looking for someone with tremendous skills in accounting, I'd go like, yeah, not me. Someone's pitching and they go like, and we really need someone who understands how to tell a story, how to present, and how to convey a message. And I go like, yeah, that's me. That's interesting. I think I could be of help. So it's not just being there and saying, look, this is what I've got. Maybe it's something for you, maybe not. Good luck. But really actually selling this proposition. And that's something they are currently not doing well at all.
usual offer of quaffable collateral from the whiskey collectors turned entrepreneurs. Now, Stephen Bartlett wants to establish if the couple's finances tot up.
When did you start this business?
We started in 2019.
So tell me about the numbers then since 2019.
2019, our turnover was 112,000, gross 106, profit 6.
Okay.
Second year, 485,000, gross 520. We made a loss of 35 that year.
Wait,
Hold on, say
what
that
you said your gross is 520?
Basically, our top line is the sales. So we've sold £485,000 of whiskey and we retained the 10% commission. But we made a loss that year and help me out here.
Yeah, basically because of overheads, we were down 35,000.
I don't think we've got a problem with the 35,000. I think it's the 520.
Is it? Are we maybe getting our
Your
figures?
cost of sales can't be
higher.
than
can't be
your
higher.
goods.
I think your gross profit's wrong, isn't it?
Yeah.
Let's just get to the bottom line here, is that you've charged 10%.
Yeah.
So if you sold 485, you made 10%.
Yes.
Yeah,
Right. So you made 48,500 gross profit.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
That's
okay.
correct.
So whatever you do, it's 10%.
Yeah.
That's your
Yeah,
maximum gross
yeah.
profit. That's a very low gross profit business.
A couple of things. I mean, I kind of mentioned that a couple of minutes before, but same thing is like one of the worst things you can do in a pitch is not know your numbers. I said it in the last pitch, which is going to appear there. But it's showing the inability of building and steering and growing a company. It's as if you're trying to fly an aeroplane and someone says, how much fuel do you need to get from, let's say, London to New York? And you go like, probably whatever it is, 500 bananas. And you go, how much have you consumed? I'm not sure. How much do you think you'll still need? That's a great question. And you're like, dude, what direction are we flying? I don't know, but this way looks like New York, doesn't it? In that moment, you will do everything to get out of that aeroplane, right? I mean, that's a mad conversation. That'll never happen. Probably has happened, but still. But the point being is, this is exactly that conversation that's happening right now. An investor's going like, tell me, how do you know if you're flying in the right direction? How do you know if you have enough fuel? How do you know if you have the right altitude? And they all give the wrong numbers. And in that moment, you know, you will never, ever step on that plane. Unless what you want to do is say, okay, do you know what? I'll take over the entire plane because the plane looks good, but you as pilot are going off board. Go please entertain the guests. That's sometimes what people do. Investing heavily in companies or taking them over, or specifically, and I don't mean this now in a negative way, but if you have pure tech founders or people who have a pure ability in building the product, but that happens a lot earlier. That doesn't happen when you pitch. That happens before. So let's say you are a scientist and you've made a discovery and say, look, I know all about science, but I'm looking for a co-founder who's an extremely well-known, extremely successful entrepreneur. That makes perfect sense. But at this point in time, that's very bad. But let's see what the actual dragons say.
That's the reality.
Yeah.
Right. So I just want to understand what the cost of running the business is, basically.
So we're looking at, I think it's about £1,600 a quarter for the rent of the unit.
£1,600 a month. It's not.
Quarter.
No, we're about 16 grand, 17 grand a year.
A year.
Yep.
It was about 15,000 on Google Shop. I think we spent something like, it was about 22,000 on the shipping.
Yep.
Stuff like, I think we... No. I know you want to be confident and inspiring. You want to give people the understanding that you know exactly what's going on. Exactly, not... I think it's... Always take that picture with the airplane pilot. When you go like, what direction are we flying? I think it's north, south. It's west-ish. You don't want that. You really don't want to go there. No, maybe not. Terrible. And also, think about it. I know exactly what number the dragons have in the back of their head. I bet you. If you ever watch this, dear dragons, if you ever watch this, please do confirm this. It might happen one day, and you always have to think big, think bold, and go nuts. But the thing is, I know they have the 50K, which is like the maximum they can do a year based on their business there, and they are deducting these numbers. And right now it's 50K minus the 22, minus the 16, or minus the 15, and they go like, oh, and they say, well, how much are you gonna pay yourselves? And you're like, well, we need that much and that much. And you're like, your business is effed. That's not an investment case, and that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to probe for exactly that.
Yep.
Then we had costs for handling the transactions. I can't put my finger on.
We don't know that. I know we don't know the exact what they charge.
Is it a couple of grand or is it 20 grand?
I would say an estimate, if I was given that, about 8,000.
Right. So I'm adding this all up. I can't get all your numbers to add together.
We're not the best at figures, and that's probably
I'm
our
guessing
weakness and our downfall. And that is why we're here today. We do need a bit of guidance, but we know where the whisky world sits, and we know that we can take a bit of that market. We're taking a bit of it just now.
They know their single malts from their blends, but when it comes to distilling their numbers, Stephen and Jacqueline are on shakier ground. Will Peter Jones be prepared to take the long...
And just fun fact, I believe to have read that the most expensive domain that was sold in Germany, could be wrong now, but it was like a year or two ago, was actually whiskey.de, which is for Germany, whiskey.de. And there's a company, and I'm not going to name them, but I kind of did now, didn't I? But they have this super successful business in shipping whiskey, selling whiskey, but I believe it's not like individual to individual. But the point is, this industry is so big, and it's such a beautiful product, and it's such a product that has such big margins to it, yet effing it up the way they do shows no business acumen. I know I'm being so unfriendly, but their business model, their proposal how to make money is, it's not good. It's not good. I mean, I know it's a show, so it's heavily edited, and obviously they also cast to bring this kind of stuff along, because you can't only always have winners. But this is that's a bad performance.
Long view and splash out on shorts.
Stephen, Jacqueline, look, I suppose my immediate issue is the fact that you've put a glass ceiling on the business immediately because you can't do more than 10%.
We are really not even on the first rung of the ladder with this business.
Yeah.
Auctions just now, there's one that sell 3,000 bottles per month.
We're doing about 200 bottles a month. So the growth for us is there's massive growth.
Well, it is, but if you double the size of your business tomorrow, you still only generate 90,000 gross profit before any costs, before salaries, before marketing spend, before anything. We might have a few glasses of whiskey together, but there won't be enough profit to distribute back to me as an investor. So for that reason, I'm going to say that I'm out.
A blow for Stephen and Jacqueline, who've lost their first dragon. Does Deborah Meaden share her fellow Den stalwarts' downbeat assessment of the duo's future liquidity?
Nicely put.
I've actually got the same comment, but for a slightly different reason. You are so tight on your margins, and your numbers are all over the place.
We're sorry for not making that clear.
Yeah.
And we obviously have an accountant.
Yeah, but wait, so when you've got a business with high margin,
Yeah.
you've actually got a little room to think, well, okay, maybe we're a little bit out here, maybe we're a bit out there, but yours are so tight that if you get something wrong, it's too late for your accountant to say a month later, oh, did you know this is a problem?
Yeah.
You haven't got a lot of room to play with.
Okay, Deb.
And it was lovely of you to offer a guarantee, but that shouldn't be the reason for investing.
Investment, yeah.
So I'm sorry, I'm out.
Stephen, Jacqueline, just want to say, first of all, congratulations on starting a business that is clearly got market demand. The bit I struggle with is when a marketplace becomes big enough, if yours does become big enough, the expectation for you to be able to authenticate these bottles, if someone's spending 15, 20, 30,000 and protect against foreign counterfeits is huge. And what that does is it means that they're going to add extra operational demand to your process. That's going to eat further into a margin that you just don't have. So for that reason, unfortunately, I'm going to say that I'm out.
It's very nicely put by Stephen. I find it always quite interesting to understand how do their brains work. And that's something I'll never understand, why people go and pitch their dream, a good part of their lifeblood, without preparing in a diligent way how the people they are pitching to operate. What that I mean is you need to understand to whom you're talking to. You need to understand how they respond and react. And I tell you what I mean with that is you will probably talk differently to your partner, to your boyfriend, girlfriend, or whatever rocks your boat, as if you were to, let's say, a policeman, because they're just different people, different personalities, different positions, and you know how to talk to a policeman. Or you would talk differently to your boss than you would talk to your child. Not better, just differently, because you understand whom you're talking to. So what I'm saying is when you pitch, understand to whom you're talking to and understand what certain words trigger in their head. So if you're saying to a policeman and they stop you and they say, how you doing? You say, I'm really hungover, hard night. That'll trigger something in their brains differently than if you say that to your best buddy. Different responses, different responsibilities, right? So, by the way, don't ever drink and drive. That's like the dumbest thing ever in the world. But understand that. The two of them, Jacqueline and Stephen, clearly don't.
The thing that struck me is You are never going to make a lot of money taking the 10% out of this business. However, it is going to give you first refusal and first sight of the best deals in the market. And listening to you talk about it, you've obviously got a really good eye for that. Honestly, you can make a killing. But for you, not for me or any investor.
And she's saying change
So
the
best of
business
luck with it
model.
all, but I'm out.
You know, it's interesting. I've drank that.
I'll give you another
was a
one.
good one.
No.
No, I said he could have mine, he just hasn't got any advice.
But the one thing I've listened to everybody, and the only way you're going to make money is through your knowledge of whiskey.
Yep.
That is your secret weapon. Unfortunately, as an investable proposition, for me, you know, it doesn't make sense. However, I wish you all the best.
Thank you,
And
Mika.
Mika.
cheers.
Thank you for listening.
And I'm out.
Thank you.
Have a safe trip back.
We
Thank
will.
you.
We will.
Thank
We
you.
haven't
Good
drank
luck.
any whiskey, so we should be fine.
Oh, good. I'm the one that's in trouble here.
All the best.
Bye.
Right, nice to meet you. Bye-bye.
Sadly for Stephen and Jacqueline, they must depart without the backing of a dragon.
Well, that didn't go the way we thought.
No.
Their failure to secure a deal may have left the entrepreneurs feeling a little deflated, but in the den, spirits remain high.
Tuka, you're pissed, aren't you?
Oh, yes.
No.
Took a drink his quick.
Right,
We'll get
around
another
it, put
one.
ice in it.
You put ice in that.
Oh, well. We tried.
I mean, there's something you need to know is go in it to win it. And with that, I mean is understand what it takes to win. What is required to pitch a proposition that is investable? What does it mean? It means like if you're in a race, understand what it takes to win it. Understand how fast you have to go. Understand how far you have to go. And see if you can actually go that fast and that far before you compete. Just to understand where are you. And you don't want to find out, during the competition that you are actually rubbish. Find it out before, understand where the benchmark is, and then go in. And then sometimes you win, you lose, that's part of it. But if you don't know what the requirements are, do your homework. In that sense, if you like this, like, comment, subscribe, and hit that bell button. That would make me even more happy. In that sense, take care, stay safe, and see you next time. Thank you very much, and bye-bye.